How you doing, guys? This is Eric from rulethewasteland.com. A while back, I did a podcast and an article about 8 rules for dealing with bureaucracy that was about how to handle yourself and different things that you should do and look out for when dealing with any sort of bureaucratic entity in any sort of conflict in any sort of combative way. And I really only scratched the surface of all the things that you need to be watching out for. And the one thing I didn't deal with was the particular nature of what that problem might be, because there's a lot of them. And one book I wanted to review that covers a specific type of problem that may fall under those, which I was talking about, was SJWs Always Lie by Vox Day, and that stands for Social Justice Warriors Always Lie. If you hadn't noticed, in today's political climate, there is a huge just movement of political correctness gone awry and social justice gone awry. It's become incredibly inflated over just even the last 5 years or so, maybe even the last just 2, has it really gotten out of hand. And you're seeing people being just fired from their jobs, completely just excommunicated from social circles and professional circles, and all sorts of things happening like that in the last few years due to what could be called social justice type causes or politically correct type causes. And this book goes into the whole process. It actually basically breaks it down into 3 stages. It gives some backstory about the history of what's been happening in that kind of arena and these type of issues and these attacks against people for their politically incorrect actions or views over the past few years. Then it details the actual step-by-step process that the social justice warriors go through in one of these mob attacks. It has every step laid out. And then the third part is basically the most important in my mind, which is what you need to do to survive an attack from the social justice crowd or the politically correct crowd. And the author of Vox Day has a blog that's very popular. I'll link to it below. And I followed his stuff for a while, read several of his books. I really enjoy his writing style. He's a very intelligent guy, but he doesn't write with that pompous air or that superfluous type of style that a lot of intelligent people do to try to seem even more intelligent than they really are. Like a lot of college textbooks that you'll pick up, and they're writing to try and sound smart instead of just trying to get the ideas across. And in the same way that you can take someone who is really good at playing a musical instrument and tell how good they are simply by even the way they play a simple song, that's sort of the way his writing style is, and he's very good at getting complex ideas across very easily to the layman without trying to just sound self-important or anything like that. So it's a really easy to read writing style that flows very smoothly. You'll find yourself reading a lot more of the book probably in one sitting than you thought, just due to how easy it is to read. And he does a very good job of explaining the backstory and just the history of the past few years. And so even if you're not worried about social justice attacks on yourself or anyone you know, maybe you're in a particular type of industry or self-employment where you don't think you can get hurt by that, I still recommend you checking it out. But one of the parts in this book in the beginning is explaining the whole Gamergate and the fiasco and the history behind that and what happened. So if you heard a little bit about Gamergate and the scandal in the video game journalism industry and everything that went along with that, this has a really great, relatively short breakdown and synopsis of the entire timeline of events for that. And so even following relatively closely the chain of events, I'm not a gamer, and so I would just follow a few different people who were involved and get bits and pieces of the situation. So it's really interesting to see the timeline from beginning to end of exactly how everything went down. Also details some of the instances of social justice mob attacks on people like the scientist who was landing a space station on a comet and got basically attacked for wearing a shirt that had women on it, like superhero type women. Then there was the Nobel Prize winning scientist who was basically pressured to resign or forced to resign for making an offhand glib remark, or it was even a joke basically about how women are hard to work around and cry in the lab and stuff. This was a Nobel Prize winning guy who was then attacked by all these do-nothing busybodies who just thought it was politically incorrect. And so those are the sorts of attacks that can happen, and you don't have to be famous or be in such a public eye for that to happen to you. There's been stories of people, a guy who worked at a parking garage or something like that in a hotel made some comment online or something, and they got him fired. So no one is off limits. So it's a very good read, very useful information. I recommend you guys pick it up. I always get the physical copies of books. I just like having them in my hand, but they do certainly have the PDF, or I mean not the PDF, but the ebook version, the Kindle and the ebook and all that. But speaking of PDFs, even if you're not interested in buying the book, I do suggest you go to the author's website, which I'll link below, and on the right, I guess this is my right, your right, the right sidebar, there is a or SJW Survival Attack or SJW Attack Survival Guide PDF, and that's a free download that gives just the basic premise of the steps you need to do to survive an attack by a social justice or politically correct crowd. So even if you don't end up buying the book, which I still recommend you do because the e-reader version is only a few dollars and you get the entire explanation of how you need to react and what they're going to try and do, at least get the free PDF. So if this happens to anyone that you know or even to you, you'll at least know what to do about it. So that's just a brief review of the book, Social Justice Warriors Always Lie. I recommend you guys check it out if you're interested at all in that sort of material. And I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching.